Good morning everyone. Right, today I am going to review a set of OEX extra light carbon trigger walking poles. Now I tried walking poles for the first time about 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago. I bought a fairly cheap set because people said, well, it doesn't really matter. A lot of what was coming up online didn't seem to matter what ones you went for. So I got a cheap set and found them cumbersome in the way. It's pretty windy out here, so what I'm going to do is take them off the packaging and we'll head out, and I'll see if I can find somewhere a bit more sheltered to tell you a bit more about them and about myself. See you in a moment. First thing to note is that there is very little information with them. I've noticed this happening more and more with products. People assume you're going to go online and look things up, or that you already have prior knowledge. I don't have a clue. I've looked into walking poles, I've watched videos, I've got a rough idea. But these feet that come with them, do I need them on all the time? Do I take the rubber ones off? Obviously I'll now go and look it up online and find out. But it would be nice if manufacturers gave you basic use instructions to come with them. Right, let's start again now with somewhere a little bit more sheltered. So my name's Abby. For those of you who don't know me, I go out exploring with my wonderful Nova Scotia duck tolling retriever OT Adventure Toller. We live not too far from Dartmoor, which is where we're going to take these poles out today, but we travel and explore all over the UK. Now I looked at walking poles about 3.5-4 years ago. I was born with a condition called exomphalus, so I have no abdominal obliques, no core muscles. To add to that, I had a hemiplegic migraine about 11 years ago, which meant I lost a lot of balance and left me with hearing loss and a hearing aid, but that's fine. And then to top it off, 3.5 years ago I had COVID, which has left me with ground glass damage to my lungs. So breathing wise, it can be a little bit of a struggle at times, improving slowly, which is great. So as I said, I tried poles a few years ago, and the set I got were quite cumbersome, quite heavy, and they rubbed my wrists, and it just really put me off. At the time I didn't really need them. It was sort of an experiment. People had recommended them and I thought, oh, that's a good idea, but I was doing okay. So I then had Oti as a puppy. Hey Oats! And as a puppy, obviously she needed a lot of training, and it was not ideal having poles in my hand whilst training a young dog. So she's now at the stage where most of the time she's off lead, and if she does need to be on the lead, like we will for parts up here when we encounter livestock, then she doesn't pull. So I'm hoping it won't be too much of an issue. So back to the poles. I went in to go outdoors last week, had a little look at their selection. They had quite a nice selection, but all sort of upwards price range. The ones I picked up initially were the same version, but in the aluminium. And the very nice assistant said, yeah, you might as well go with those. This first pair, no need to spend the extra. But then I stood with them, one pair in each hand, and the difference in weight was massive. Or it felt it for me. So I've gone for this set. I couldn't try them particularly because they were on the card, but the handles just felt really nice in my hand, and the strap's comfortable. I've had a quick look online, like I did before a few years ago, so I will get them adjusted in a moment with my arms at right angles. I've had a bit of a read ups and a sort of watch of a few YouTube videos, so I know that as my left foot goes forward, my right stick should be hitting the ground, but a lot of it is just trial and error and trying to keep a fairly natural pace. And to angle the pole backwards to give you a bit of power and help you push forwards. But before I do any of that, I will now go and read up and find out what I'm doing with these feet. Okay, so I've done a bit of research online. Not a lot of help at all. But what it does seem to generally conclude is that the rubber tips are better for hard going and the sort of ground I'm going to be on today, because you'll damage the carbon tips, the ones underneath the rubber basically, and they won't grip on hard ground or slippery ground. So we'll go with that. I have adjusted them. They were lovely and easy to adjust. The fittings feel a little bit flimsy but that might just be because I'm not used to what I'm looking at. So we'll see how well they do. But actually, once adjusted, they feel pretty firm. So I've got 120 centimetres on the top one, 115 on the bottom. Again, I can't find any advice on it, but that put them at right angles for me, which seems to be the conclusion of what I'm after. They were easy to adjust. The markings are lovely and clear, because one of my worries, my other set, is very hard to get the two poles the same length, and obviously I do want that. So I think now, best bet is to go and give them a go. I have straight away tightened up the hand grips, and that now gives me quite a bit of support, and I've been really surprised how quickly I've fallen into quite a natural rhythm. Whether it's the correct rhythm, I've no idea, but it feels pretty good, and they're feeling useful at the moment. So we're about a mile in. They coped really well coming down the steep hill, and actually when I slipped a couple of times, stopped me from falling, which is exactly what I'm after. We're now coming into some much rougher ground, so it'll be interesting to see how they manage on this. Something that is annoying me a bit is the handles are slipping. This bit of plastic at the top here, I think is supposed to stay in, and it is now, but it wasn't. And the one on the other one is coming out. So I think the idea is you adjust them, push that in, and it stays in. But in all honesty, Oaty puppy, that is probably something I need to have a play with at home. It's not hindering too much today. But what I hadn't actually really realised, and I probably should have done, is a pair of hiking poles isn't a pair of poles. It is two hiking poles put together in a package. So for example, the fittings are on the same side. So on my left, if I'm keeping the poles nice and close to me, it is actually catching on my left. And the straps, where they're coming loose, on the right one it's sitting really comfortably. On the left one, it's leaving me not so comfortable. There we go, you learn something new every day. So I'm just testing. Obviously one of the things I do a lot of is video my walks, and I must say these are brilliant. I've got the right one round my wrist lifted up with the phone, the left one I'm still using it, and that is really easy to use, which is brilliant. And obviously I don't record on the technical bits of the walk anyway, because my balance isn't good enough. So I think these could work out really well. You gonna go for a swim? We'll go and find somewhere deeper. So again, they're much easier to handle than the pair I briefly tried were. Yeah, I'm impressed. And despite me saying the fittings looked a bit flimsy, touch wood, so far, little duck dog, they haven't budged. They're still on the settings, but I put them on and they haven't even felt like budging. So let's keep going. How stunning. So we've got two different butterflies there, and a third just beyond. A benefit I hadn't really considered, it's been really helpful to be able to use both sticks together to help me up steps. Definitely less pressure on my knees, and a real benefit. You want to go for a swim? Okay. Generally they've slowed my walking down, which is only to be expected while I get used to them. But I've got up this hill, or halfway up as I am now, a lot quicker than usual. I thought they might be a bit of a hindrance scrambling through here, but actually, again, because they're so light, they were help. Okay, another challenge for them. We're getting a bit overgrown up here, so let's see whether the poles catch on anything. So yes, they did catch on the foliage, and in all honesty, they're too lightweight to push the ferns aside. But again, it just meant putting them into one hand and walking without them for a moment. Which still leaves me in a much better place than if I didn't have them with me. There isn't any livestock, but I do want to have a little go at walking with them with Odie next to me. So let's see how that goes. So she's a bit wary, which means I need to work on that. Good girl. Well done. To be honest, as long as she walks out there, doesn't pull, yeah, this is all fine. Good girl. Okay, Odie, sit up. We'll let you off again. Good girl. So, final review. I'm impressed. They've actually definitely earned their place in the car. OEX X light carbon walking poles will be coming out with me again. They were lightweight, which I think makes a massive difference. So opening gates, even silly things like picking up my whistle to use it for OT, weren't made more difficult. They lost their footing a few times. I think that's going to happen with any poles, to be honest, so I just have to be aware of that, and particularly on the edge of paths where the path is crumbling away. So that's just something to watch. They were comfortable. I do need to work on that wrist strap, so I'll take them inside with me, have a proper look, and see what I can do about that. They gave me a lot more stability going downhill and on uneven footing. And actually uphill they were far more help than I thought they'd be. The last hill in particular, where I'd usually have a couple of breaks, I was able to keep plodding on, so it made quite a difference. Yeah, overall, really impressed. We've driven home, stopped and did some shopping, and I'm actually feeling like my body's had a bit of a workout, whereas usually I'd just be a bit stiff and achy after a walk. So it'll be interesting to see if it does actually work all of me a bit more. So there we go. I'm going to keep using them for the next 2 or 3 weeks, and then I will review them again and let you know how we're getting on. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. I'll put the details for them and a link in the information on this video. Take care and see you all soon.